All right, thank you one more time. The program's still live here on Independent Television. In the next few minutes, we're going to be talking about the 2027 presidential election. Of course, when we talk about elections, presidential election in the country, you know, it's something that is so captivating in a sense that a lot of persons are interested in it. They want to know who becomes the next president, and that's the way it is. Well, as it stands now, we have a president in the country, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and we've seen the latest and recent political trajectory, you know, starting from the political, you know, joining of parties, coming from one party to another, and of course, you know, also making sure that other things will come by. Well, the recent of it all now is the one that has to do with the All Progressives Congress having automatic tickets for a particular, you know, candidate in the next presidential election. So that is already generating reactions and counter reactions. Well, looking at all this this morning, state of the nation, and of course 2027 presidential election in focus. We are so privileged to have two gentlemen, but we have one already on set via Zoom. We have Honorable Osase Iyi Iheva. He's joining us via Zoom this morning from the Federal Polytechnic at Ekiti in Ekiti State. Honorable Osase Iyi Iheva, you're welcome to the program this morning on ITV.
Good morning, Evans, and good morning, viewers at home.
Okay. All right, so we're also expecting Mr. Lucky Igbenovia, and of course the seat is right there. So when it comes, he's going to be joining us so that we also, you know, hear from him how he feels about the latest political, you know, developments in the country as it relates to 2027 election. Now, Honorable Sase Yeheva, a lot of things have been said about the presidential election come 2027, but for most critics, rather than talk about the presidential election, the present administration should focus more on governance, because as it stands now, governance seems to be more important than the presidential election. But you and I know that also politics is something that you cannot take away from governance. I mean, for the fact that we're even talking about governance in the first place today, we are, you know, taking a cue from who won the last presidential election in the country. I want you to take it up from there.
Well, thank you very much, Evans. Like you rightly said, between politics and governance, there's a thin line of demarcation. Of course, governance is integrated in policy democratically. But however, when you come into governance through politics, the onus rests on you to face squarely the issues of governance. Yes, we agree that you cannot separate politics from governance, but how about getting the mandate of the people to govern or to rule over them? The promise made should be delivered. But what do we see today? We see a lot of political shenanigans taking over the act of governance in Nigeria. Presently, just about a few days ago, this government wrapped up 2 years in office. And out of a mandate of 4 years, presently, you can find out that even when we have not been able to assess their scorecard for the past 2 years, the major focus of the political party as presented today is been embroidered in political shenanigans, trying to turn the country into a one-party state and hoodwinking all the institutions of Nigeria to becoming what I would call paraphernalia of our organs of the APC, which actually do not augur well for governance. The high level of insecurity in Nigeria is high. The economic quagmire of the people is alarming, and the people are dying of hunger. Today, the slogan of the Nigerian masses is a big mammy everywhere, whereas the politicians are shouting on your mandate will stand. So you can actually look at, when you look at these two aspects, you find out that the political class, are they actually interested in the good governance of the people, or they are interested in their political well-being? So that becomes a very fundamental issue for those of us who are the electorate to always discern and differentiate between who is ready to govern and who actually is ready to come into governance for political gains.
Okay.
Of
All
course,
right.
you agree with me that when this president was coming, he actually did not promise Nigerians anything. The only thing he promised us was that it was installed, which the Yorubas call Emi Lokon. So, was it a political turn or the turn or a turn to give good governance to the people? That becomes a fundamental question that we need to answer.
All right. So you talked about that politicians always do politics and all that. But what do you think are the issues with Nigerian politics? Let me use the word Nigerian politics now because the way we practice politics here seems to be different in other climes. I mean, a situation whereby just because we have a certain party as the ruling party at the federal level, then automatically we begin to see almost a one-party system structure, political structure in the country. I mean, even in the time of the PDP, somewhere around 2015, where we had former Goodluck Jonathan as the president of Nigeria, it almost turned into a one-party state. So what is this thing about Nigeria's politics that we cannot actually find a situation whereby the constitution gives room for multi-party system, but what we see more is a one-party system, in practice. What is it with our politics?
As a matter of fact, I think it's a fundamental political issue or error in the Nigerian political climate. Yes, democracy is structured on political platforms, which are based on political principles. But what do we see in Nigeria? We see political parties not as political institutions that are threatened to carry out their political ideologies, but rather political parties are already seen as vehicles for emergence of political elites into governance, into government. Rather, they see it as a means of attaining political relevance, not because they actually how do I put it, that they are actually interested in strengthening their political ideologies. Political parties are supposed to be based on political ideologies. I think this actually came as a result of the military incursion into Nigerian politics. Evans, you will agree with me that in the Second Republic, during the era of the UPN, NPN, GNPP, PROP, our political parties were structured on political ideologies. That was why when you see all the UPS states there, where Bendel State, now Edo and Delta State belong in 1979 to 1983, along with all the other Oyo, Ogun, Lagos, as the case may be there, were all governed through political ideologies. Hence, they all had the same political manifesto running across all their states. For example, one of the ideology of UPN there was free education at all levels. And that was what gave birth to emergence of state universities across those states and mass education for the populace. But what do you see today? In today's political parties, you see 3 PDP states having different ideologies. Even when the different political plans, agenda, even when the party try to structure them. But rather, the Aussie government takes over the party as against what it used to be. During the Second Republic, it is the party that steer the act of governance. They whip those in government into shape along with the political ideology. But rather, today, the governor is the political leader of the party to the detriment of the political party chairman, who is supposed to have a say over the elected officers. But rather, the elected officers now have a say over the political party, which I see as a pyramid standing on its head, which is not supposed to be. It's a misnomer, and that is what have actually eroded the political ideologies in our party system. And until we go back to that Second Republic political based structure, and why is this? You will find out that during the 1993 electionary period, the 2 parties we had were parties that were formed by governments. And basically, they dictated the terms for those political parties. And that was where we started deviating from. Today, I want to tell you categorically that 80% of those who are in APC today, apart from Asiwaju, have all migrated from different political parties to APC because they are looking for political relevance, not because they believe in the ideology of APC. Another thing is those in the authority try to hoodwink the opposition by way of threatening them with institutions, organs of state, such as the security, EFCC, order, try to ensure that they get them to their political parties. And upon fear of being harassed, being prosecuted, they will do the biddings of the president. As we are seeing, that is what we are seeing today. Ordinarily, any person who believes that his hands are clean, who believes in the political ideologies of his party, should not be wrong by masquerading and jumping from one party to the other. Political party, joining a political party is not a pilgrimage thing. It is based on ideology. And if you don't have the ideology of that party, why will you be there?
Okay.
That good or bad, I give it to Asiwaju. You will find out that even when others were migrated to PDP, as Adnuri Obasanjo already, Asiwaju remains ready until the political party metamorphosized to ACN and gradually to APC. So he has remained constant in his political ideology.
All right, so let us talk about another factor that analysts are also mindful of, the northern factor thing, because whether we like it or not, it's going to play. It has always played out in our election. I mean, a situation whereby because a particular candidate comes from the north, then you begin to see the political trajectory moving towards that region. But this time around, we do not know whether the All Progressives Congress, apart from the fact that some politicians within the ranks of the APC have said that automatic ticket for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But what we are looking at is the northern factor thing. The question is, do we think, or do you think that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu can withstand that issue?
Well, that is another misnomer in our political system. The idea of party power rotation. Sincerely speaking, it has not done Nigeria any good. And if you carry out a political survey, a statistical analysis, you will find that one president comes from one region or the other have actually not given an advantage to that region where the president comes from. For example, you saw the Buhari administration, though he came from the north. The north was bedeviled with political insecurity, no political development in the north. As of today, are you telling us that the west has been better off with Asiwaju as president? No. The poverty index does not know wherever it comes from. The inflation does not know whether you are represented from the north or from the south. So it has been a misnomer. So the fact that today the north, from the political survey, it seems that the north is not angry with the government of Asiwaju Bola Tinubu. But does that make it right for us to bring another political non-entity, or in the name of somebody coming from the north? I think we should jettison wherever an aspirant comes from, and look at the performance index of such an aspirant. Will he be able to deliver on his promise? What are his past antecedents? And what are his major objectives? What are his plans towards taking Nigeria from this poverty level? As of today, I was reading from one of the statistical information yesterday that Nigeria, as of today, have even overtaken Sudan in having the highest malnourished children. Sudan, that is a war-torn country. Nigeria is not in any war. Today we have the higher number of malnourished children in Sudan.
Let us be careful with it. We say that because some persons may want to argue that with you.
Well, it depends on the facts and figures that the person is bringing to the table. Like I said, I read. So the person will have to battle with where that sort of information. I can give him a sort of information. Let him counter it. That is the truth. But the truth of the matter is, I think it was even a United Nations. It was even a United Nations revelation. It was a UNICEF revelation. So it is not something that is contestable.
Okay.
So the question here is, the person coming from the question here is, does the person come from? Yeah, they not have the political number to often maneuver, but the person coming, how good is he? What are his antecedents? So, sincerely speaking, I am not an advocate of presidential zoning. Let the best candidate emerge.
All right, so big one there. Now, let us also look at some recent developments now, because some persons are still very much of the opinion that if only the Nigerian government, the present-day government can allow, or if politicians will allow this development to hold sway, perhaps we will begin to have a very robust elections in our country. Take, for example, the very controversial issue, the one that has to do with making elections mandatory. Of course, if you don't vote, there are implications, there are penalties, that's one. And on the other side, we saw recently whereby people are also talking about the 2025 electoral reforms that also talks about, trying to reorganize how results are transmitted, and it must be transmitted electronically and all that and all that. Now, if all this comes to stay, are we going to have a better presidential election comes 2027?
Evans, my brother, you and I know that it is not the issue of electoral reform. It is the issue of transparency of the electoral institution. It is the issue of the transparency of the electoral institution, no matter the reform you put in place. All the reforms that Jonathan put in place towards ensuring a better electoral process. What do they get in 2023? A manipulated glitch from INEC. That was what we saw in 2023. The glitch that did not occur in the National Assembly election, which was done simultaneously with the presidential election. We are seeing it in the display of the in the uploading of the electoral result of the presidential election in their INEC. You will know that this was humanly manipulated. I take you back to the last election of Edo State. Even though today the court is declaring I'm sorry to use this, because I participated in that election, I knew how it went, and the 88% of the Edo people knew how the election went. We saw the manipulations of INEC. We saw what happened. Today it is an eyesore. It has further eroded the integrity of INEC in conducting free, fair, credible elections. And so it is not about electoral reform. I think we have put a lot of electoral reforms in place. But what we need to do is to reform INEC. Reform the process of appointing people in INEC. Today you see professors manipulating results for non-entities. And yet these same professors go to their school and expect students for examination malpractice. Is that not ironical?
All right, so what do you make of what is going on? I mean, in River State, we have seen the governor suspended. There's no doubt that he's still there, being suspended and all that. But just only yesterday, we saw him with the president talking about Simlaye Fubara now. Now, the reason why we are talking about this now in the media space is because of Rivers. River State happens to be one sure banker. What I mean by sure banker now, political sure banker, in terms of the results that comes out from River State. Now, some persons are of the opinion that this latest romance between President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the suspended governor of River State now, it has to be. I mean, as a matter of fact, some persons are even predicting that in no more than 1 or 2 days, Fubara is going to be reinstated as the governor of River State. Now, because of all for 2027, River State gives a lot of results, huge amounts of results to presidential election. So what do you make of it? I mean, against the backdrop that Fubara was suspended, only talking about 2027 election now, then romance all of a sudden starts between the president and Fubara. What do you make of it?
Ernest, I don't expect you to be asking me this question. In Nigerian politics, the politicians, it is their interests. They are interested in their own personal selfish gains. Of course, you know that what played out in Fubara, in the River State, was all politically manipulated from the presidency. using
Yeah,
Wike as a
are we saying that the state of emergency? I mean, what was what happened in
my brother,
Rivers?
my brother, it is visible to the blind and audible to the deaf that that state of emergency was politically manipulated.
Yeah,
Did it follow due process?
but what about the happenings before the pronouncements? Are we not bothered by that?
What were the happenings? What were the happenings? Were there killings in River State? Were properties being lost? We saw a manipulated blast in one or two installations. What about the massive killings in Benue Plateau? The massive killings in the north. How many states have you declared state of emergency? My brother, the fundamental function of government is the protection of life and properties. And life comes first before property. We are seeing people dying like flies in Benue, in Plateau, in Zamfara. We are seeing kidnapping everywhere. You didn't declare state of emergency in those areas. You only declare state of emergency in River because you want to manipulate the votes in River. My brother, let me tell you, I tell you categorically, in 2027, it is going to be the Nigerian masses versus the political class. Let me tell you, even with Wike as a city governor in 2023, he didn't win Rivers. We saw how they manipulated the votes. So what makes you think that if you remove Fubara and put another person, you will win? Well, Fubara, yes, he will play the game at 2028. I will not be surprised if Fubara have gone to Asoro to go and play loyalty. I said, Baba, or your mandate, I shall stand. Please let me get back my ticket. And of course, and if he does that, he gets back to his office. Politics is about personal interest first. So he's savaging his interest to the detriment of the River State indigenes. Whichever way it goes. But I want to assure you that it is one thing for the political class to endorse. It is another thing for the electorate to use their power of ballot to vote. But my fear and my fundamental fear is the transparency of INEC. So we have seen that our votes don't count anymore. And even when you go to the judiciary where it's supposed to be the last vote, we have seen the judiciary as becoming an organ of APC too. Just the way they also use the police and the security agencies to be organs of APC. So all institutions of Nigeria that are supposed to protect the democracy have all transformed themselves to organs of APC. So I would not be surprised if Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, aka Biloko, walks or glides seemingly to the Aso Rock for the second tenure, because all the institutions are behind him. Not because the political class are going to deliver him. Not because he will win at the free ballot.
All right. Now, the other opposition parties now, starting from the PDP, now their posture somehow, somehow shows, beg the question how ready they are for the next presidential election. Because when you still begin to hear of some hiccups here and there within the ranks of the PDP and other opposition parties, do you think they are ready for the next election?
You see, the crisis in the opposition can be likened to the body of Esau, the voice of Jacob. We know the invisible hands that are rocking the opposition party. I tell you, if the opposition are able to put selfish interests aside and come out with a very formidable coalition against this presidency is doomed. Take it or leave it. But my fear and my worry, would they be able to jettison personal interest and say, okay, for the sake of surviving, for the sake of protecting Nigerian democracy, for the sake of the Nigerian populace, upon which we strive to govern, because a king is only a king only when there are people. Because you don't govern over dead bodies, you don't govern over trees and rocky areas, you govern people. So if the people do not exist for you to govern, you will not have anybody to govern. So if they are able to set aside their selfish interest and come together in a formidable coalition as they are planning to do, my brother Ines, 2027 is a done deal.
All right, so let's quickly talk about some mighty political forces in the north. I mean, Kwangwaso is there and is so interested in next presidential election. And we hear also too that Atiku Abubakar has not rested his interest for the presidential election. Now, recently we saw some of these big-time politicians in the north coming together to form a coalition of northern politicians, all for 2027 election. Now, you think with all this is going to be an easy ride for the APC?
Like I said, it is one thing for the political parties to come together, political elites to come together. It's another thing for you to have confidence and trust of the electorate. Kwankwaso, yes, is a force in Kano, but what is his strength across the whole of the north? How many votes was he able to garner in the last election? Today, we are seeing Rufai also moving around, jockeying from one party to the other. Rufai as a city governor did not win Kaduna State. So that is to tell you that the people know who the best they can vote for. They know who best they can vote for. I just pray, and it's our prayer, that these political forces, the Kwankwaso, the Rufai, the Peter Obi, the Atikus, they should lock themselves into one room and tell themselves the truth, who actually can deliver for us as opposition. In my place, we say there's a balance, there's a saying in Benin, where no matter how strong the wood is, the axe will surely bring it down. They should go and forge a formidable axe that can crack no matter the rock, no matter the term. That can crack. As what you Ghana political forces together to form APC. Even when Jonathan felt that with all his transformation and everything, and of course you agree with me that Jonathan did well. People today, when you compare Jonathan administration to this administration, you will find out that we have just moved from heaven to hellfire. So if they are able to come together,
all right, I think we kind of experienced in network issues there. The program is still this morning on ITV, and we are talking about the politics of 2027 presidential election. We quickly take a short break now. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned.
TMI, every opinion counts.
All right, thank you one more time. The program is still right here on your television, independent television, this morning on ITV, Wednesday's edition with Evan Sunokugie. Our guest this morning is Honorable Sase Iyihera from the Federal Polytechnic at Ado-Ekiti. Honorable Sase, nice that you're still there with us this morning. Okay. All right, so we are trying to reconnect back to Honorable Sase Iyihera. Now, we've been talking about the politics of 2027 presidential election, and we've talked about the recent trajectory, starting from the political, globetrotting, moving from one party to another, and also we've seen some of the body politics language. In other words, okay. All right, so Honorable Sase Iyihera, nice to have you there again. Okay. All right, so we've talked about the political, leaving your party, joining the All Progressives Congress because it's the ruling party, and we've also seen the body language of Mr. President and similarly Fubara of River State. I mean, he's still on suspension, but the recent development now, the recent romance between the president and Fubara speaks volume. Now, okay, all right. So, Osase Iyihera, I think we have you back now. If you're ready, all right. So beautiful. So nice to have you back, Osase Iyihera.
thank you very much.
Okay. Now, a while ago, you were trying to express your worry and your concern over the issue of opposition parties. Let us not be specific now, because the PDP is not the only opposition party in the country. We have several of them in opposition to the All Progressives Congress. But what seems to be very glaring to all now is the inability of these opposition parties to take a firm stand against the All Progressives Congress. I mean, as it stands now, there's no doubt the All Progressives Congress is going to bet their political choice on Bola Ahmed Tinubu as their next presidential candidate. So if we have this as a problem among the opposition political parties, so it means that the opposition parties may not also be ready for the next election.
Well, why would you think the opposition parties are not ready for the election? I think they are ready. I think the only thing that is happening, like I told you, is that the crisis that is rocking most of the opposition parties today can be seen to be forces that have been spearheaded externally from government. I beg both to say. And of course, you know what Wike has been doing in PDP. And the reason why, effort to remove him and his people, of course, they have the courts. Like I said earlier, that I'm not afraid to say, the judiciary has become an appendage of APC. So nobody goes to court against APC that wins. And nobody goes to court against any interest of the APC, whether in the opposition or that win. You saw how they have manipulated the judgment of Abure in Labour. And so, if these parties are able to put their house together, and if they are able to even move away, I think that is where the coalition will make great sense. Because if those forces, the positive forces, move away from the negative forces being sponsored by the APC to join forces with other, of course, this crisis is visible in NNPP, is visible in PDP, is visible in Labour Party. And these are the three major opposition parties today we have. The other mushroom parties, I'm sorry to use that word for them, are actually renegade soldiers. But they can coerce and harness all this to form a formidable force. But either by forming a coalition or with a new party, or adopting another political platform upon which they can project a viable candidate. All Nigerians are waiting for is a viable candidate against Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Now, Honorable Sase, you keep on saying if. You keep on asking the question if. Now, little wonder, do we have the time? I mean, 2027 is so close, yet so far though, but do we have the time for this if to materialize? Do we have enough time for the opposition parties? Do they have the time?
Yes, Ernest. 24
Evans
hours is a big...
Yeah.
Sorry, Evans. Evans. You see, 24 hours is a big time in political arena. We still have a lot of 1 full year before the election. Yeah, the election is 2027. Even though this APC government have jettisoned governors have started working towards 2027 election.
Now, let us be careful with the way you say that now. APC government jettisoning governance. I mean, some persons may have different opinions.
Of course, in our state there, have you not seen the governor flagging off campaign for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, saying even before the INEC have lifted ban? Have you not seen him erecting billboard for Asiwaju 2027?
That may not be correct, because we even read recently whereby Bola Ahmed Tinubu had to give a stern warning that those persons flagging billboards.
Why was he warning?
Yeah. So you cannot say that the state government. Why was he warning?
Is it not because he has seen that people have jettisoned government have started campaigning? Have you not seen where political party, all the political actors in APC have come together to say we have adopted Tinubu, where they have never done their party congresses? They have never done their party primaries.
But don't you think? Yeah, but don't you think they have rights to their opinion? I mean, they have right to their political opinion. Don't you think so?
You see, the body language of politicians have a long way. Don't forget that I was once in this game. Have a long way to go, a long way to tell you what the plan is. You see, the truth of the matter is, they have jettisoned governance for electioneering. Take it or leave it. They have jettisoned governance for electioneering. But however, like I said, 24 hours is enough time in politics. And the coalition is still at the mutation stage. I'm very convinced and I'm sure that the coalition will make metamorphosize and will come to a reality and a future. And of course, they are going to give APC a run for their money. Like I also said, it is the electorate. The electorate are just waiting.
All right, so the coalition now, little wonder who the coalition will eventually, project or present to Nigerians as opposition candidates against the All Progressives Congress. I mean, we understand that Obi is still very much interested in presidential race. And of course, Atiku Abubakar is still there. Kwangwaso that you talked about a while ago is also there. So at the end of the day, little wonder who will the opposition coalition, settle for. Honorable Sase. Okay. All right, so we are going to be re-establishing contact one more time so that we'll begin to commence our dissent on the discussion segment of this morning. Yeah, 2027 presidential election is still, some persons say that it's still far, but politicians are already putting, things together, dotting their I's and of course crossing their T's to ensure that they don't miss a thing as far as the 2027 presidential election is concerned. But one thing that seems to be worrisome for the average Nigerian now is the way that we are seeing, politicians, coming into the APC, making the country, the state, the Nigerian state, a one-party system. I mean, in Edo State now, we understand that the legislature will have the APC in a majority, and that seems to be snowballing into other states as it stands. And some say that it is not too okay for governance. I mean, governance can only be healthy if we can have a kind of a mechanism that will check and balance the party in power, so that the party in power won't just have it all free. That's what people say. Now, Honorable Sase, you have, if we still have you there, can you say what to us? Okay. All right, so I think we may just draw the curtain here on the program this morning on ITV. Draw the curtain on the discussion segment now, so that we can join so that we can join either Abuja or Lagos as we get along. Don't forget the program is still this morning on ITV. Please stay tuned.